Hello and welcome to Build Series Sydney. I'm your host, Danny Clayton, and right now I'm joined by all singing, all dancing pop starlet, Samantha Jade.
Hello.
Hello,
Nice.
Samantha.
Hello. How are you?
It's good. I mean, I'm good. Are you good? Are you well?
I'm great. I haven't seen you in a while.
Yes. I do have plenty of stories when I last saw you, but we won't get straight into that.
Good. Let's ease into that.
Yeah. I mean, you're back with a brand new single, which I'm going to call it. It's a banger.
Oh, thanks.
It is a banger. Bounce.
It's a fun one.
I mean, we've just been watching a little bit of the music clip as well, which looked like lots of fun. Can you tell us
so much fun.
A little bit about putting together that rockin' video clip?
Yeah, well, I love doing music videos. It's one of my favorite parts of the process of having a record out. And when I wrote the song, I saw the music video in my mind, and I saw these colors like the pink and the yellow and the bright kind of colors and just heaps of choreography. And then I think when it came to the day, when you walk onto the set and it looks exactly like how you've imagined it, that actually really rarely happens. So I was so happy. And honestly, the first take, I was like, oh my gosh, I love this, like when they sent it back to me. So it's just a celebration of fun and good dancing.
Yeah. And so when it came to explaining your thoughts and your ideas for it, what was it? Were you just like, all right, colourful, dancing, lots of fun, good dancing? I mean,
pretty much. And I also said, like, I wanted to, because it kind of goes from scene to scene with the same choreo, room to room. And so we had to learn and do it exactly the same, which was pretty hard, especially for me with dancers that are 10 years younger than me and incredible dancers, you know? So I was like practicing and practicing and practicing. But yeah, it just is, I think it's one of my favorite videos. I love it. Yeah. Okay. Of my own, not in general, of my own.
Take that, Rihanna. This is way better.
Way better than you, yeah.
So I also saw some footage of you in like a basketball court area, like a huge hall at a school, and there were just all of these dancers doing a dance with you. What was that about?
That was actually a few days before we shot the video, so it was great practice for me. That was amazing. That was for the Australian like dance kind of crew. So it's all the kind of kids that want to be professional dancers went and did this workshop and learnt the moves to bounce and also some other dance routines, and I was able to just like pop in and do it with them, which was so cool because I was that as a kid, like always wanted to be a singer, and you know that's you have to start that young and you know try and give your best, and it was really amazing to see. You can already see the ones that are really like going for it and going to be, you know, a professional dancer one day.
Yeah, it was quite funny because I actually saw that video on just a tiny little phone screen, and even still, and like you're that big, your smile took up most of the frame because you look like you were having so much fun.
Oh my God, I was loving it. And I was so overwhelmed that they're all learning, you know, the dance to my song. It was pretty incredible moment.
Yeah, I mean, what was the first dance that you learned? Like, what was the one that you looked up to and said, I want to dance like that?
Do you remember Case of the X with the dun, 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 dun. Do you remember that song, Maya? And they've got the sticks.
Yeah.
You know that? I would watch that video and have I think it was a broom that we had in the house, and I would literally try and do that choreo over and over and over again.
This is bedroom dancing, yeah?
Oh gosh, yeah. Oh yeah, I'd kick my brothers out of the lounge room and be like, "It's my floor now." But yeah, I mean, and that's how it felt. You know, it's like that, which is mind-blowing that now I can be that person for someone. It's amazing.
And this is just the beginning. So this is just the first taste we have of new music. So let's talk about the song itself. Where was this song? You know, where did it conjure up from your mind? How did this come together?
Well, I actually, my friend, Jackie, who's one of my best friends, used to dance with me for years, but she hasn't anymore. But we were doing a show in Perth, and I was literally about to go on stage. We were like going up the stairs, and there was a bit of a delay. So we're just chatting backstage, and she goes, I've got this idea for you, because I was going to LA the next day. She goes, I've got this idea for you to write this song called Bounce. And I was like, oh, okay. She's like, but it's about having a bounce in your step. And I was like, I really love that concept. Anyway, I didn't have my phone on me, so I got one of the guys backstage's phone, and I was like, can I just call my voicemail to leave like the melody idea? Because I was like, if I don't put it down now, I'll forget it. And came up with that. And anyway, when I went to LA, I'd finished writing all the songs that we'd written, and I was like, oh my gosh, I've got that voicemail. And so we went back and we revisited it, and we wrote the song in like an hour. Like it was the quickest. I think those sometimes are the best ones because they just come to you.
Yeah.
That was it.
Very funny. It actually, Guy Sebastian, many years ago, I asked if I could go through the voice memos in his phone, and he sheepishly let me do it.
Let you, that's nice.
And it was like,
yeah.
chorus.
Yeah.
Give it up. And it was very, very funny.
Totally.
What would your phone be like if we were to look into the voice memos?
It's a mix of that and then hi, this is Samantha Jade, and you're listening to, because you have to send them in to people, but it's so much of that. And sometimes in the moment you're like, this is genius. This is so good. And then you listen back and you're like, I don't get it. What was I doing? Because it's like just scatting or something random. But yeah, it's the same, I would think.
Okay. So for the rest of the music that we're going to get from you, is it a similar vibe? What can we expect sonically?
Yeah, it is a similar vibe. I've always been really inspired by the 90s. I just love 90s R&B. I'm so glad it's making such a comeback because I love it. And I think that's going to be you'll be able to understand that that's been my influence because it's a little bit more in that genre.
Yep. And what ballads? Are we going to get some soft songs, energetic songs? Are we going to the full range?
There's a full range for you there, but
great.
And I definitely went. I mean, I love a ballad. I love a power ballad. Love a good singer. So there's some there's some vocal moments and some ballads and actually for the first time. Not to go too dark, but for the first time I did revisit some of those kind of scars that the industry had left for me and actually wrote about them, which was really, really big for me because it's something I hadn't actually done before, I don't think. And I felt like, I turned 32 this year and I was like, I'm ready to go there and get on with it. So I think you'll hear some of those things too. Fantastic.
I mean, because you've had such a tumultuous, incredible career. You've had the highest of accolades and you've had some bitter defeats. So when we go back to those times, is this like that cathartic feeling? And what are some of those things that you're going to be dealing with maybe?
Yeah, well, because I moved to LA when I was 16 with my whole family, and these were the days of the record companies having like massive budgets so they could do those things, and I got signed to Jive Records, so I kind of bypassed Australia and went straight there, and I was signed to the label that had Britney Spears and Justin Timberlake and like all these people I had always looked up to, and seeing my face on the wall with them, I was like, oh my gosh, that's all I knew from that age. And then by the time I was 21, my deal was over. So it was kind of like, and now I look back and I'm like, I was 21. Like I didn't, what? I look at my brother who's 23 and I think I was a baby. But for me, I was like, my life's over. It's all done. I've got to give it up now.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of what you think in that time. But I had started, I think, so high. And my first gig was opening up for Solange, like Beyonce's sister. And then my second showcase was with Chris Brown. Like it was just crazy things, you know what I mean? And then once I got kind of, dropped and I had kind of not know where to go, I was like, where do I go from here? And I had to put myself kind of back together again. Moved home and couldn't get a job because all that was on my resume was songwriting and singing. Everyone in Perth was like, don't care. So couldn't get a job, and my dad said, listen, we've got a gig for you in the back, like counting stock. It was stock take time in the mining warehouse, and I was like, yeah, I'll take it. And I think that when I left that job, I think they were the happiest people ever because all I did was sing. They were like, oh my gosh, please, Kevin, shut her up, shut your daughter up. It was so annoying. But and then I went for X Factor because I finally got the courage to sing again. And then, but there was that was 10 years later for me because it was 25. I was 25 when I won. So there was all of that, that kind of happened.
So much career happening in such an early part of your life.
Yes,
so it's almost like you tried, you failed, then you tried again and really succeeded.
Yeah, exactly. So it felt a bit like this, and and I think like my other brother, he's 25 now, and I was thinking the other day we celebrated his birthday on the weekend, and that's the year I won X Factor, and he's so young, and there's so much ahead for him. And in my mind, I always felt so much older because I'd done so much.
Sure. I mean, an anonymous source did suggest suggest that in those early days that you were writing songs with Dr. Dre. Did you have studio time with Dr. Dre? I mean, tell me what was going on there.
So that I worked with Timbaland. He was like the big one that I was a fan of my whole life, and then worked with him, which was crazy. And Ryan Tedder, that was that session, which is mind-blowing now.
Yeah.
The Dr. Dre thing was that the studio that I used to work at, which my team at the time had bought, was hired out by Dr. Dre and myself.
Wow.
So I would walk. I remember the first day I got to the studio, and they had kind of moved in. And I'd been in Australia, and I'd come back, and I went to the front door and I buzzed in, like I always do. And this guy came out in a SWAT vest.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh, it's like a Halloween party maybe, or dress up that I'm not aware of. And it was because at the time, Dr. Dre had like a hit out on him. So we had that. Yeah, it was insane. And I was like, oh my God. And I'm from Perth. Do you know what I mean? That kind of difference. And I'm just calling my friends going, oh my gosh, guess what? No one's understanding. They're like, this seems fake. I'm like, I know, this is my life. It's so weird. And he was just in the studio all the time making music, and he would have to, there was a secret entrance that he would go through, and it was crazy.
That's insane. And how does a teenager from Perth act around Dr. Dre? Were you just too scared to talk to him? Were you trying to be cool?
He might think that I don't speak. I think that may be what he thinks. I mean, he never thinks of me, and I'm sure he wouldn't remember. But I was at this. Hello. I didn't even know what to say. I was so starstruck. Yeah.
Because apparently this same little bird, this same anonymous source.
This bird, this source.
This same little sparrow.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. Marcus Sparrow.
Got it.
Anonymous. Also said that you were approached by Britney Spears' manager.
I can't believe I told you all this. Yeah, that's true. Larry Rudolph, who's Britney's manager, he was kind of calling me for a while, but I was quite loyal to my management at the time, and didn't go there, which now I'm like, why didn't I do that? But for a long time, for years, and I very much just kind of, didn't understand. I think when you're in it, you don't understand what you're in until you step out and you're like, these names are crazily big, you know what I mean? So, but that was a thing of, loyalty to my management that then weren't very loyal to me. But it's the Hollywood story.
It speaks volumes about you, though.
Thank
that's
you. I'll
the important thing. Now that I've blown the cover of my anonymous source, Marcus Benito, the greatest guitar master in Australia. He travels with plenty of different musicians and bands.
Yeah, I mean, he's on tour right now with Fleetwood Mac, which is insane.
Which is wild. And he was telling these great stories about when you guys went on this European tour with a pretty significant band playing in hotels, and he said it was really weird. Can you explain what was going on there?
So weird. Okay, so first of all, it was Boyzone and Westlife, like two of the members from each of one member from each group, right? And we'd just been approached to do this show, and I was living in London at the time, and they're like, well, you get to tour in the UK, and I'm like, I'm in. I get to sing in the UK, great, take me around. Marcus was playing, and it was sponsored by Hilton, so we would go to all these Hiltons and sing in all these places, and it was just the most random crowd, and it was mostly women who absolutely hated me because they were like, I think they were like, you get to meet them, you know what I mean? And I would just put all the attention onto Marcus. I'm like, look at this shiny man on stage, like him. And they loved it. Thank God for him, because he got me through all those shows. But we would, go around and sing, and we did, we'd drive and, all these venues. And it was actually really amazing to watch them sing every night. And literally, their fan base still is massive. It was really, really cool.
Yeah. I mean, one thing that those fan bases, they're just wildly loyal. And I think that there's quite an interesting, when we look at your fans, seems like there's been people there from day dot, and they've been supporting you from those early days. This is the moment you won X Factor.
Yeah.
And through all the different projects you seem to do, they seem to grow and shake and move with you.
Yeah.
What is it, do you think, about your fan base? How often do you communicate with them? How do you keep them interested?
I don't know.
You go overseas, you come back.
I know, I'm all over the shop. I think I'm really lucky because some of them have been around since like Step Up days, which was my first song from when I was 18, and some of them come to the shows. Like I did a show the other night at the grounds, and there were so many people there going, I didn't know that was your song. I loved that movie, and I followed you from there, and I was like, oh, thank you. But I think they're just, I'm so grateful for my fans because I know that I can't do this without them. I truly do know that because I've done it when I was just in the industry, so I really get that. And I think communicating with them, I think social media, it's a beast and it's beautiful at the same time. And I think that I use it in the right way where I can speak to them one-on-one. And I've really tried to do that lately. I never used to take the time to do that. And now I really have. And I'm learning a lot through that.
Sure, but you do give a lot back. I mean, just recently for the Wharf for Ward from the Sony Foundation.
Yeah.
This is a brilliant organisation raising money to create wards that support young kids with cancer.
Yeah.
I mean, you performed there.
Yeah.
And you were with the likes of Stan Walker, who was in the studio the other day. What was it like that? Because Stan has obviously had a huge, challenge battling cancer, and cancer's touched your life as well. So, what was it like spending time with those kids who have been rocked by cancer?
It's always a massive, massive wake up for me. I think we get so stuck, and it's not our fault. It's just life. We get stuck in our lives, and we get fixated on little problems, and then you meet someone who's battling for their life and they're able to smile and be kind, and you think, wow, what am I doing? It really is a moment every time. I've been an ambassador for 7 years of the Sony Foundation, which has been a long time. My first time meeting some of the kids was in Perth with my mum. We opened the first one in Perth, and it was so special, and even more special now I think about it that she was there. And then ended up, my mum, had a 6-month battle with cancer and passed away, and was just the craziest thing that's ever happened in my life. She was fine one week, and then she had a stage 4 cancer the next. So it was just insane. But she always said to me, all you can do in this moment is be here and be, someone who gives someone a smile, because that's all we can take in that moment. So that's always been on my mind. And so I've always, tried to do that for them, and ultimately they end up doing it for everybody else. So they're the most selfless people you'll ever meet.
Yeah, I'm sure she's very proud as well. And it's interesting, seeing how much work you do, in that charity field, and even seeing you work together for that alternate version of Guy Sebastian's choir, which was wildly touching. I know that you and Guy are very close friends, but how did that all come about when you worked on that project with him?
It's actually such a random thing. So I'm really, really close with Guy, but especially Jules, his wife, some of my best friends and one of the best humans in the world. Anyway, I was just at the house having tea with Jules. Funny enough, that's her show, but we were literally having tea and chocolate and popcorn watching the Kardashians downstairs. And then Guy comes down and he's like, hey, Sammy, you want to come upstairs and listen to this thing I'm doing? And I was like, oh, sure, because he's got a studio. I'm like, oh, sure. Anyway, so I go upstairs and I don't come back because he's like, it plays me this alternate version of choir, which is incredible, and goes, oh, do you reckon you could jump on it? And I was like, oh, sure. And I'm thinking, I'll just go away and I'll learn it and I'll come back. And he's like, no, now. That's kind of what Guy's like. I'm like, now, yeah, sure. So I did. I just jumped in the studio and I, of course, knew the song because it was on radio every 5 seconds, and I loved it. And, and I didn't come back down. When I did come back down, Jules was like, where have you guys been? And we'd recorded this version of choir. But it was so touching to be on it because obviously I get it, and I think that he's done such an incredible job of speaking about something that's really sad and turning it into something really positive and actually really beautiful, and more of a celebration of someone passing than a harboring sad feelings towards it. Yeah.
And dare I say that it almost seems like that was the version that it was supposed to be. I'm not allowed to say. I'm not allowed to say it. It's the slow version
It's a
and then the
beautiful
upbeat
version.
one.
Yeah.
But I mean, is there a version that you prefer, or can't you say because you're on
Well,
one?
of
Yeah.
course I prefer mine. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
No, I think that this version is just different. I think it gets to you in a different way. And I think Guy's the one who invented this version. I mean, that choir that's singing, now you're singing with that whole part is all him, right? And then I was like, oh, that's all you? He's like, yeah, it's all my vocals. And that's really hard to do. He's so talented, like weirdly talented.
Don't you hate people like that?
Yes.
They're just the worst.
I was like, you came up with that? That's all you? Are you kidding me? So good.
I'm just impressed that is the version that is gone out, just casually gone. Did you even get to do your vocal warm-ups? Do you have vocal warm-ups?
I didn't.
Yeah.
I did a few, like, we call them sirens, where you're like, ooh, and then he was like, okay, got it? And I was like, yep. Lyrics on my phone. Yeah, it was quick.
He's supposed to be your mentor. I mean,
I know. Well, that's him mentoring me. He's like, be ready at any time.
Okay, good. Which makes me curious again because, a person like you've been making music for the majority of your life. You're performing and singing. Do you still need a time to warm up? I mean, you've been doing all these shows lately. Yeah. Have you been in the studio rehearsing, or is it just kind of like, all right, I'm on, let's do it?
It depends.
Lights, camera.
Sometimes it has to be that, because sometimes, like, you get a call and they're like, hey, like, we've got this thing that we want you to do, and you kind of have to jump into it. For things like, when I did the grounds and when we do obviously War for Wood, I mean, you do have, rehearsal time. But I think for me, like, warming up has become something that I'm really quick at now, because I've had to be. So I kind of am like...
half a siren.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Okay, I'm on. Yeah, kind of, you have to be willing to be able to just jump up and... Do you know what's really weird that I've just realised this year for my voice?
Drop it on me.
If you ever want to get into singing. A teaspoon of honey is the most incredible thing. It coats your throat. It's unbelievable. It's disgusting. It's kind of makes you feel a little sick. But if you have that and this kind of sit like this and it drops back, it coats your throat, and it's the best I've ever sang.
Manuka honey? What kind of honey? Does it have to be Manuka honey?
Manuka.
Sure.
I think you can do both, but Manuka's better.
Okay.
But yeah, it's life-changing.
So pay attention, vocalists out there.
Singers
That's
out
the
there.
secret to the
It's
Samantha
really,
Jade pipes.
It's helpful.
Now, we do have a few questions coming in. Firstly, from Lucy. She wants to ask, would you pretty...
Oh, no.
This isn't me. Would you pretty please sing something for us? This is putting me on the spot. I know.
Oh, gosh. Yeah. What do you want me to sing? Is it anything?
I'm not sure what Lucy wanted you to sing.
What do you want me to sing?
Why don't you sing
Danny?
just a little bit of bounce?
Sure. Okay.
The slow version, apparently.
Oh,
No, just...
lovely. The acoustic. Okay, sure. I couldn't touch the sky, baby. My head and my heart was so blue. Couldn't run for miles, baby. Was getting sick of sitting in the same room. The million times I tried, baby. You think by now I paid all of my dues. Couldn't make me smile, baby. 'Cause they were never my type and they were you.
Wow. Round of applause.
Oh, thanks, guys.
Gosh, God, you get me every time, Samantha.
You're too nice.
I mean, again, I wasn't going to tell that story about the first time that we probably started hanging out was from another music channel a long time ago.
Yes, long time ago.
You and I had to perform, or you had to perform in the snow.
Yeah. It was so cold.
You were rugged up. Like you were in a sleeping bag.
I looked like an Eskimo, yeah.
And
you saved me.
Yeah,
because I was like, I thought I was warm enough. And then I got there and I was like, I'm so cold. And you gave me your jumper.
Did I? God,
yeah.
Gentlemen.
I'll never forget that. It was this long.
Okay.
It was a dress, but it was amazing.
Well, funnily enough, that's not what I remember.
Oh.
The one thing that sticks to my memory, and I was mortified for so long, was that we put you up on a stage.
Yeah.
But when we got to the stage, we realised that the stage was quite high, and you had these boots on, and you couldn't get up. And everyone was waiting, and without thinking, I picked you up like a toddler, and I put you up on the stage. And then after I did that, you looked at me, I looked at you, and I'm like, oh my God, what have I done? I'm like, oh. And then just to make sure that it was okay, when you finished, you looked down at me and you nodded, and I came.
And you took me down. Yeah,
picked up.
I needed you that day, and you really stood up, and you were there for me.
It feels so
Thank
good to
you.
get that off my chest. I've been thinking about that for years.
Oh my God.
I was mortified.
But I needed that.
Oh, I'm
'Cause
red in
I'm
the face.
so short. Like, for people that are watching, I'm 5'1.5",
Yeah.
and I needed that. I
Yeah.
needed that help.
I'm 6'6" or something.
Yeah,
so.
you're so tall. Thanks, Danny.
You're welcome. I'm just glad I got that off my chest. Another question here from Johnny. Johnny says, in an industry where the landscape is changing so rapidly, how do you stay authentic and ahead of the pack?
Oh, great question. I think you have to stay true to yourself. I think that's one of the main things, because you can always chase radio and you can always chase what's going on and try and be, whatever's going on out there. Just like fashion, you can always be like, that's the new thing, I'm going to wear it. But it doesn't always suit you. And I think that mixing those two things, I always try and stay true to who I am and talk about subjects that I want to talk about and sing the way I sing. And then I think, staying relevant is obviously keeping up with Instagram and social media and doing it in that kind of a way.
The hungry beast that we must feed. Another question from an anonymous person. You've pursued a career in the US and Australia. Which do you prefer, and what has worked better for your career? I think we both know the answer to that.
I think Australia.
Yep.
There's such a beautiful... I call it like a lounge room culture thing that we have that I love so much, because people just want to feel like they know you here. And I really feel that way at every one of my shows. I feel like people they just want to be your friend. And it's so real here in Australia. And I love that about our country.
Yeah, cool. Bianca says, congrats on your engagement. Have you started wedding prep? Are there any special little touches you really would like to include?
That's really nice. Thank you. No, I am the most useless engaged person of all time. I get asked this all the time, and my friends, literally, like when they got engaged, which was before me, they were saved the dates in my mail 1 month after we had planned the wedding. They had their dress. It's been a year nearly for me, and I have not done one thing.
Wow.
But I also feel like being engaged is really special. And I think that a lot of people kind of jump over that. And I think it's something to live in and celebrate.
Enjoy.
Just as much. Yeah.
You sound like you're going to be like a bride chiller rather than
I am. I'm going to be a bride chiller. I like that. I'm going to use that.
I just made that up.
Oh, that's huge.
Yeah,
That's massive.
I'll keep that.
It's the next big thing.
Another question from Anonymous. Working in the entertainment industry besides Dr. Dre, who has left you starstruck? Good question. And where were you and what were you doing?
Oh my gosh. So actually, this is
Pitbull, right?
hilarious.
Yeah.
Oh, Pitbull. Never met him. Never met Pitbull.
What?
Oh no, never met him. How weird is that?
We're going to revisit that.
Yeah.
But go with your story.
There's no story because I didn't meet him.
You did a
But
song
we'll
with
revisit
him.
it. Yeah.
Wow.
I know the power of the internet. When I was, I think I was 15, and I was going over to kind of meet the new team in America, and I was living in Perth still, and still going to school, but I was having a little 2-week break, and I went over, and one of the guys who was in the management team at the time was looking after Christina Milian. And remember that song, AM to PM?
Yep, AM to PM.
Yes. Yeah.
Na-na.
I loved that song so much. I loved that song. I had dance routines, the whole bit. And she was I loved her. She was so pretty. And I remember I walked in and I had lunch with her at a mutual friend's house. And I just couldn't get over it. I was like, I am sitting on a table with Christina Milian. My friends are going to go wild for this. That's all I could think about going back to school and telling everyone. So that was a pretty cool moment. It was my first celebrity I ever met.
What were you guys eating? I'm so curious.
Do you know what it was?
What?
Fried chicken.
Chicken.
And it was so yum. Yeah.
Delicious.
Yeah, it was delicious.
This next one, it's quite funny because I read these remarks all the time, particularly about you. So it's funny that it's come up. What was it like playing Kylie Minogue in INXS, Never Tear Us Apart? How did you prepare for the role? I mean, it's something that I think you've had for years now. People saying the similarities between our other pop princess, Kylie Minogue.
Yeah. It's so weird.
Yeah.
It's so weird because, I mean, we weren't blessed with height, I think is the first one.
Your fun size.
Yeah.
Your fun size.
People say that, but I've been hearing that a bit and I'm like, I'll take it. But, Yeah, it's so weird because, I mean, of course I love Kylie and I'm a humongous fan. Who isn't? Australian, like you got to be. But I didn't like study her growing up like I did Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera and those kind of people. So it's so funny when people go, your like mannerisms are the same. It's so weird to me that we do speak so alike and all that stuff. But when I was about to play her, I mean, YouTube was my go-to. I was like, because she didn't really speak about Michael much. They kept it really private, which I respect. But for my role I was playing, it was really hard because that's what it needed to be. So I kind of, watched any interview I could find on her, to kind of pick up on those things. And filming that was incredible. I never thought I looked like Kylie. I never got it when people would say it. I was like, oh, I don't reckon, because I think I look like my mum. And then they put the wig on me. And I was like, oh, yeah, no, I get it now.
You get it now.
Oh, my gosh. I was like, oh, wow, this is weird. That's my face, but it's not. It was weird.
Yeah. And on top of that, any more plans of acting or going?
Yeah, definitely. I love acting.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. It's a totally different thing than music, and you can become someone else, and it's so fun. But it's a full-time job, and it's not easy. So I feel like I want to give as much to that as I do to my music. So...
So you're going to do one or the other at any given time?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So before I let you go, it's getting to that fun part of the year where Christmas is around the corner. I hear that you are going to be performing at Carols by Candlelight again.
Ooh, Carols,
are you just like a really big Christmas girl? Do you love Christmas?
I'm obsessed with Christmas.
Okay.
I love it. I'm that person. And I know a lot of people don't like those people. I'm that person. I love it so much. I buy all the decorations. I play the music from, now, if I can. Actually, I was home on the weekend in Perth, and my brother's girlfriend is just as obsessed with Christmas as I am, and that's huge for me. I've found my match. I was like, oh, yay! And at Christmas, we are the most annoying people. My brothers are so annoyed with us because they are not as obsessed. But we were playing Christmas music already because we just love it so much.
It's
so joyous.
Absolutely not.
I know.
That's way too early.
And all I could hear was from my brother's room, turn it off, it's so annoying. And we're like, you're not awake yet. We get to control the music. But I just love it. It's such a beautiful time of year. It's a harder time of year now that we don't have my mum, because it was her favourite time too. But we've learnt to celebrate it in a bit of a new way. And I just think it's my only time as well that I really get off to spend with my family for like a full week. And I just love it.
Yeah, I think it's appropriate for me to finish on the last question I ask Paul Feig as well, which is, Samantha Jade, what do you want for Christmas?
Oh, great question. Hope everyone in my family's listening.
Get out your pen and paper.
Get out your pen and paper, guys. Do you know what? This year I would like them to all put in and get me just a ticket to go somewhere away. I really want to go away. I feel like I
Paris.
Want a week at Paris, something easy like Paris. Yeah, but even if it's just like, I don't know, Rottnest or somewhere easy from Perth, I don't know. But I just want to kind of, take a bit of a break. I feel like I've just been go this year, and I haven't, with them, of course. You guys can come if you are watching. But just to kind of get away and leave and just like do nothing.
Yeah.
I love doing that.
Sure. And I tell you what, if anyone deserves a break, the hardworking Samantha Jade does. Samantha, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.
Here on Build, if you'd like to hear a new song, Bounce, get it around your ears. This has been Build Series Sydney.